is that we will create a learner-centered climate with rigorous expectations, use of project-based learning, and investigative learning. We are right now in the process of ordering some books to do a book study on project-based learning. And Risa is helping us set up a workshop on doing project-based learning. And we've also got, several of our classes have already done some projects. Were any of you girls involved with the 8th grade science with the solar system and everything? 6th grade?
The 3rd grade came up and they put it.
Yes. And so we're already getting involved in that, and the research shows that the more engaged children are, the better they learn. So our action steps to reach this goal is that each teacher will develop and implement 2 project-based learning activities for the school year. And some of them, like I said, have already done one and are in the process of planning their second one. And we talked about IPI walkthroughs. Are you all familiar with IPI? Okay.
Would you give us an explanation?
IPI is an acronym for Instructional Practices Inventory. And it's where people walk in your classroom and they've been trained to observe. And when they first walk in, they record how actively engaged the students are in that room. 6 being the highest level of engagement, or 5 and 6 being the highest levels of engagement. 6 is where they're engaged, I think, just individually, and 5 is where they're engaged with groups. 1 means that there's no engagement at all with the teacher or the students. They're not engaged. So our goal is to increase the levels of 5 and 6s by 20% from the first IPI walkthrough.
Who conducts these?
Risa is conducting ours this year. Next year, our staff will start conducting them. We've got about 4 people on our staff that have been trained. You have to pass a test and everything. All principals have been trained. It's done by Dr. Jerry Valentine out of Missouri. And he developed this, and I mean, it's just, when you first walk in, you get that snapshot of what these kids are doing. There's no time for the teacher to say, okay, kids, let's get to work. It's what they're doing the minute you walk through that door. And it gives you a lot of good feedback. We've had our first one this year, and our data was fairly good for our first walkthrough. The bulk of ours were in the number 4, and that's where the teacher is doing the instruction.
You all, doing this thing, when you all do evaluations, do you involve these, what you might find in these walkthroughs?
Not to be used as an evaluation.
No, it's not an evaluation tool.
It's more a tool to use for the teacher to take ownership and help them see what they're doing, as a tool for the staff to help improve their instructional practices, to get the kids working at a higher level of learning. That's what the IPI is for. It's not to be used as evaluating teachers, because when we get the feedback, we're not told this teacher was, everything was disengaged. We're not told which rooms are what.
That's why I was thinking you all as administrators doing evaluations, it might be a natural thing that you would see these kind of things.
Well, being in a small school, we pretty much know
Yes.
what it is, but we're not given, this classroom or this classroom, whatever.
No.
But it's just meant as an improvement tool for the staff. And to be honest with you, I think it's one of the best.
I think it's one of the best
Tools
tools that
been
we've got.
given.
Because it's so, it's not judging teachers. on what they're doing. It's looking at the school as a whole and what we can do to improve, to make it better, using the best instructional strategies. And the best are in the levels 5 and 6. Higher level thinking, project-based learning, cooperative learning.
It also leads to more collegiality where they feel comfortable asking them, because they know whether they belong there. And it'll lead to open up to the other staff, well, what can I do to get my level up? So I just think the IPI is really good strategy, and I think it'll be more meaningful, really, when the staff actually gets to do it as a whole.
And when you go through with the IPI, it's what the majority of the students are doing. So you can have maybe 2 or 3 students that are not on task, but it's what the majority of the whole class is doing. And I know that our first walkthrough, one of our PE teachers, and she won't mind me telling this, she was doing archery. Well, you know, you can't have kids all over the gym actively engaged when you're doing archery, because you've got arrows flying hopefully toward the targets. So while her kids were doing the archery, the other ones were waiting their turn. Well, because the majority of them were waiting, that was ruled as a 1. Because the students, as a whole group, the majority of them, were not really actively engaged, although they were. But I mean, that's how you have to score it. And she came to me and she said, I know I got once when they came in, me doing this archery, she said, but I can't have them, you know, and she couldn't. It was an impossible situation for her. And she realized that, and I realized that too. So, you know, the teachers know generally when they come in their room what score they're going to get. That just happens. And then another action step is that teachers will prepare and present rigorous investigative learning activities for their students. And we have really been trying this year to up the rigor with what we've been doing. It's difficult, it makes it more difficult in dealing with parents, because when you up the rigor, grades go down. And you have parents that their little Johnny or Susie is used to getting straight A's, maybe. And for the first time, they've got a B. That doesn't sit too well with parents. But when we explain to them, you know, that we are trying to be more difficult because we've got to with the new standards that have come out. So that's something that we just have to meet head on and deal with it as we come. But those are our 3 goals for this year. And I think that if we can follow through, and we are trying to keep track of where we are with each of these goals, I think we will see an increase in our scores. And speaking of assessment and our scores, as you all know, this year the data and the way you interpret the data has changed.